I was the first to arrive and the last to leave. Always. For 4 straight years, I gave that company everything. Late nights, skipped birthdays, silent tears in the restroom between presentations. But it never mattered. In the end, it all boiled down to one spreadsheet. One damn error that wasn't even mine. Mira, we're going to have to let you go, said Mr. Arian Mera, the CEO with the polished smile and heart of stone. His voice echoed across the sleek glass office as he tossed the audit report on the table like it was trash. This negligence cost us a major client. I stood frozen, the blood draining from my face. Sir, that file was reviewed by Rohan from finance. I didn't even. Don't, he snapped. Take responsibility for once. This isn't the first time your carelessness has caused issues. Carelessness? Number, that wasn't fair. I had fixed Rohan's mistakes more times than I could count. But of course, he was the golden boy. The one who played golf with Arian, who drank whiskey at board meetings and laughed about diversity hires behind closed doors. And me? I was just the quiet girl from a middle-class family with a degree and a dream. Disposable. Replaceable. I clenched my jaw. I want a proper investigation. His laugh was dry. We've reviewed everything. HR will escort you out. They didn't even let me collect my coffee mug. No severance. No explanation in writing. Just like that, I was erased. That night, I cried. But not because I was weak. Number, my tears weren't of grief. They were fuel. Because if they thought I'd just vanish, they didn't know Meera Sharma at all. The next day, I dressed in black. Not because I was mourning, but because someone else was about to. With a leather folder in one hand and a quiet fire in my chest, I walked back into that office. Not as an employee, but as a storm. The receptionist stuttered as I entered. Ma'am, you're not supposed. Tell Mr. Meera Sharma is here. He'll want to see me. I didn't wait for permission. I walked in like I owned the place. And for the next 15 minutes, I would. He looked up, clearly irritated. Mira, I believe we ended things yesterday. If you're here to beg. I don't beg, I said calmly, placing the folder on his desk. But you might once you see what's in here. His eyes narrowed. What is this? Proof. Rohan manipulated the audit files. I traced the version histories. I even accessed backup logs. The original file I submitted was accurate. He altered it 2 hours later. Arian's smile vanished. And you fired me for his fraud. Your precious finance prodigy has been siphoning funds using dummy vendors for months. Check the ledger entries for fiscal year quarter 2. I've highlighted them. Same GST number, multiple fake names. He flipped through the pages, his hand suddenly less steady. I leaned in. I was going to walk away, but then I remembered. I'm done playing the silent, loyal employee. You wanted negligent? You'll see what dangerous looks like. Arian Mehra stared at the evidence like it had teeth. The man who had proudly humiliated me yesterday now looked like a schoolboy caught cheating on an exam. You accessed the company logs? He asked, trying to mask his panic. I smiled coldly. Number, I backed up everything to my personal drive weeks ago. A habit I developed after you accidentally deleted my client pitch folder last quarter. He blinked. So he remembered that. Good. I trusted this company, I continued. And in return, I was used, discarded, and blamed. Now I'm giving you a choice. He scoffed, regaining a hint of arrogance. You're blackmailing me? No, I said, standing tall. I'm giving you a chance to clean house before the house burns down. I placed a USB on his table. You have 24 hours to launch a full internal investigation, Fire Rohan, and issue a public apology for wrongfully terminating me. Or I release all of this to the media, the investors, and the regulatory board. Trust me, your offshore accounts won't save you from a public inquiry. His face turned pale. You don't have the guts. I leaned forward. I already sent a copy to my lawyer and 2 ex-employees who would love to see you burn. His silence was delicious. I'll see myself out, I said, turning with measured grace. But just before I left the room, I added, Oh, and Arian, next time you try to break someone, make sure they're not smarter than you. By the time I reached home, the storm had already begun. My ex colleague Ritu texted, "Girl, what did you do?" "Rohan's been called into HR. The CFO is having a meltdown." Good. Then the email dropped. Subject: Official apology and statement from Orbistech Pivot Limited. We regretfully acknowledge a wrongful termination decision made against Ms. Meera Sharma. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. But I wasn't done. This wasn't just about me. It was about every woman silenced in meetings, every junior made to clean up after a senior screw-up, every every brown girl who was told she was lucky to have the job. I didn't want a job back. I wanted justice to echo. So I sent the documents to a reporter friend at Corporate Whistle, anonymously. And then I slept like a baby. The scandal exploded. Headlines read, "Golden Boy or Ghost Accountant, Rohan Kapoor. Under investigation for corporate fraud. CEO Aryan Mehra ignored red flags, fired whistleblower instead." Within a week, the company's stocks nosedived. Rohan disappeared. Aryan stepped down temporarily, but was last seen boarding a flight to Dubai. Me? I received dozens of interview offers, talk show invites, and a LinkedIn inbox full of messages like, "You're a hero," and "Teach us how you did it." But I didn't want a TED Talk. I wanted something bigger. 2 months later, I launched Athena Rise, my own consulting firm for workplace justice, compliance audits, and ethics training. Women, whistleblowers, and even small companies started hiring me to protect their people from the very kind of rot I had survived. I didn't just return to the top. I built the top myself. And every time I passed by that old office building, I smiled. Not out of spite, but satisfaction. Because the girl they called negligent became the woman they could never silence again. 2 weeks later, just as I was settling into my new life, I got a legal notice from Aryan Mehra. He was suing me for defamation, data theft, and unauthorized access to confidential files. Coward. He knew he couldn't fight the truth, so he tried to silence it legally. But I was ready. In court, Aryan sat flanked by his lawyers, smug despite the fall from grace. Across from him, I stood with my lawyer, Nandita, a fierce woman with a glare sharper than her cross-examinations. The courtroom buzzed with press and observers. It wasn't just a case now, it was a war over truth. Aryan Mehra, Nandita said, standing tall, is suing Ms. Meera Sharma for exposing fraud. Yet it was his own negligence that led to the hiring of a criminal, and his willful ignorance that destroyed a loyal employee's career. She handed over a binder. "We have security footage, internal emails, and a voice memo from a meeting where Rohan admitted to fixing numbers, all suppressed until Meera retrieved the backups." Aryan's face drained of color. And as for data theft, the files were on a shared server. Nothing was hacked, no law was broken, just a woman who refused to be a scapegoat. The judge reviewed the evidence. Case dismissed. Counterclaim of wrongful termination and defamation allowed to proceed. Gasps, then applause. Aryan's empire wasn't just shaken, it was collapsing. By month's end, Aryan's face was plastered across news channels. Investors pulled out, board members resigned, and a government agency officially opened a probe. Rohan was arrested at the Nepal border with fake IDs and a suitcase of cash. And I won the countersuit. The company paid me a 7-figure settlement, but I didn't stop there. I donated a portion to fund a startup accelerator for women-led firms. The rest I reinvested into Athena Rise, now with a team of 20. I went on podcasts. I gave talks. Not about revenge, but resilience. Not about pain, but power. Aryan tried once more, sending me a message through a mutual contact. "Let's talk. We can settle this quietly." I replied with 2 words. Too late. 1 year later, I walked onto a stage in Delhi to receive the Women in Business Courage Award. Flashes went off. Applause thundered. But what I held onto most was the smile of my mother in the front row, pride glowing in her eyes. I stepped up to the mic. I was called negligent. I was blamed, shamed, and discarded. But I turned that pain into purpose. I paused. And to every woman who's been told she's replaceable, remember, they can fire you, but they cannot erase you.